Bro, I don't know what I'm doing, but this video has been on my mind for a while. I just want to make a video about this book because yeah. So I finished this book. It's so funny because I finished this book last year sometime. I'm thinking, what's so funny? I actually think it was last year around this time, around August. And one of the things that makes a good book is its memorability. That, because there will be like so many books that I read that are good, don't get me wrong. But then, like a month, not even a few weeks after I finished reading the book, I'm like, what was that even about? I couldn't tell you the main character's name if Batman beat me to death. You know what I'm saying? So, but this is one of those books where it sticks with you as you're reading it, and it sticks with you after you read it. And it's not like, I'm not thinking about this book every week or every month. It's very specific moments where this book strikes you like a cringe memory. It's a very, to me at least, a very unique feeling of how this book strikes you. So it's, I don't know if you would classify this as it's a horror or a thriller. It's really good. It's one of those where, I can't lie to you, you definitely would think like, oh, someone's gonna make a film out of this one day, or a series, or a something, something watchable instead of readable. But it's also kind of one of those where you low-key don't want them to. It was one of those books where, as you're reading it, each word on the page that strikes you, and because this book is a very like, it's one of the, where the striking scenes strike you. I made the mistake of reading a lot of these scenes in public. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I did that to myself. But I would read a lot of the most striking scenes in public, and they strike you. The words, as you read each one on the page, it's like a feeling of like, I genuinely can't believe what I'm reading right now. And it's weird because in the beginning the book seems so mundane. It seems like such a typical, like, it's not even psychological horror. It's like a, it almost feels, the tone, the vibe of it, very similar to No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. I hope I got that right. It's one of my favorite books, so I hope I got that right. But yeah, I've never also read this author. I've never read a book by Hong Kong. I've never heard of Hong Kong. So this was, I don't even want to say new. New feels like such an amateur of a word. This was fresh on all quarters, in all corners, everything. Like, to be honest, I genuinely picked it because I saw the title and I saw the cover, and I was like, this doesn't look like this to me. Like, in my mind, I was like, I'm reading The Vegetarian, and then I see this photo of a shoulder nude, seemingly, with flowers on it. I'm like, something is not right. And then, even weirder, when I read that it was a winner of the Nobel Prize of the 2024 literature, that kind of set me back a bit. Not like, I'm not like trying to be edgy, honestly. I think I was just, when I was looking for a book at the time that I found this book, I wasn't looking for anything serious, because I'm very much in the habit of reading philosophy, reading thriller and horror type books. So I was like, okay, no, this time I want something like, I want a story. Like I want a Once Upon a Time. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, not even in the fantasy sense, just in the sense of like, when I'm reading this book, I don't need to think of the complexities of, this is the wrong book to choose for that. you're gonna be thinking. You're gonna be thinking when you're reading this book. Yeah, but it was good. I liked it. This is one of those books like Crime and Punishment where you wish you were smart enough to read it in its original language. Because I feel like they were just, especially as someone that like, I'm not claiming anything here, by the way. I'm not a smart person. I'm not a very cultured person. I like the arts and the culture, but I'm not, especially someone that's just very immersed in like K-dramas and K-pop since like the early 2010s. Like this is, if I can read this in Korean or Hangul, I really would have tapped into that. But it's still, in my opinion, just as good. Obviously, I haven't read the original, but yeah, even the reviews. I hate reviews, by the way. I hate reviews on books because it's just a nothing sentence. It's like, oh, okay. You obviously, I hate looking at reviews where it's like you very much obviously got paid to write the sentence, and it's like you could have just said nothing. You could have just said rated by Bloody and rated by, what else? I don't know what other articles. Anyway, but this one is described as terrifying and terrific, which I actually agree with a lot, and an extraordinary experience. I don't know what that means, but I do know that this book is an experience. Extraordinary might not be a word that I use. There's also surreal and spellbinding. I agree with that as well. Brutal and beautiful. I also agree with that. This one is interesting. A novel of sexuality and madness that deserves its great success. I will say, after reading this, can I be so honest with you? I don't know what the qualifications are for a Nobel Prize. I don't know what the qualifications are for any prizes in any category of any artistic endeavor. The Grammys, I never know what's going on. I don't watch them. If an artist I like wins a Grammy, that's so amazing. What does that mean? And actually, so to be honest, for me, the Grammys are very much like a popularity contest, and sometimes that's what I see awards as. I have been ranting about a whole lot of nothing for a good while. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is it's a good book, but it's also a book that gets you thinking, because I love books that are not direct about what they mean. I will say that the ending is a lot, actually no, I'm not even going to compare it to anything. The ending is abrupt. I say abrupt because it's not an ending of like it. In a lot of Once Upon a Time books, you have, the beginning, climax, peak of the story, then you come down and the end is it's smooth. Just like, okay, after all that's happened, I expect this is a good ending. This is a smooth ending. This is a stable ending. This book ends in the middle of nowhere, bro. When I'm not gonna lie to you, I genuinely, I read the last sentence. I was like, there's no way I just read the last line of the book. There's actually no way. I was like, this page is missing. And it's not even like a bad ending. It's one of those things where like the writing is so good and the story is so, you realize that when you think about this book, the story, genuinely, if the writer had given me any other ending, I don't think I would have been satisfied. I think I would have had the same reaction. I think I would have been, and it's not even like I'm dissatisfied with the story. I'm like, I don't think I would have been fully satisfied with any ending because of the manner and the content of this book. And I like to write notes. I read a lot of philosophy books. It is what it is. If it's not like a thriller or like a Once Upon a Time fantasy sci-fi story or whatever, the fuck is going on here, bro? This is so annoying. If it's not a straightforward story, it's a story we have to think, I like to write notes. I wrote one note in this entire book on one page. And I don't even think it's a page where anything significant happens. It's a page where I was just hot. I was hurtful. Let me read it to you. It is on page 88. And this is almost exactly halfway through the book, right? The first thing that I write is that a certain paragraph reminds me of the book No Longer Human, like I had mentioned. That's all I wrote. And then the sticky note that I added carries the external note of all of the men in this book do not view women as human. I wasn't having a good time. Let me actually even read the paragraph. No context, throwing you into the deep end. A thrilling energy seemed to flow out quietly from some unknowable place inside his body and collect on the tip of his brush. He wanted only to draw it out for as long as possible. The light from the tungsten lamp only illuminated as far as her throat, leaving her face in darkness. She looked as if she was sleeping, but when the tip of the brush grazed her skin, her tremulous quivering told him that she was wide awake. Her calm acceptance of all these things made her seem to him something sacred. Whether human, animal, or plant, she could not be called a person. But then she wasn't exactly some feral creature either. More like a mysterious being with qualities of both. When he eventually set the brush down, he looked down at her body, at the flowers blooming on it, with all thoughts of filming gone out of his head. But the sunlight was gradually failing, her face being slowly erased by the late afternoon shadows, and so he quickly set his thoughts in order and stood up. Lie on your side. For me, slowly, as though timing her movements to some music only she could hear. She bent her arms, legs, and waists and rolled onto her side. He panned the camera down the ridge of her side and over the soft curve of her buttocks, then filmed first the flowers on her back, the flowers of night, then the flowers of the sun on her front. Once he'd finished this, he moved on to her Mongolian mark. That's a motif. The Mongolian mark. Faint like some blue relic in the gradually fading light. He hesitated. He'd promised himself he wouldn't do this, but as she gazed over at the pitch black window, he couldn't stop himself, taking a close-up of her face. The screen filled with her pale lips, the shadowed hollow above her protruding collarbones, her forehead with her disheveled hair, and her two empty eyes. Sounds romantic, doesn't it? Sounds so romantic. That was her brother-in-law. That was her brother-in-law that was saying, well, not saying all those things because, that was doing all those things and feeling all those feelings. I'm not gonna lie to you, even reading it now, I stand by what I wrote on that sticky note, especially knowing the rest of the context of the book, obviously. But yeah, I hated every man in this book when I was reading it. And the main character, what's so upsetting is that because I would say, I think 80% of the book is from a male's perspective. So we get different perspectives throughout the book. 3 perspectives. We get her husband's perspective, who spoiler later becomes ex-husband. We get her brother-in-law's perspective, and then we get her sister's perspective. So so we never get her perspective, which is very interesting for what goes down. But it's mostly male perspective, and it's also why I also say mostly male is because we also get like a tidbit from, we get a bit of like the character of her father, and that even adds, you know, to the reason of why this book is mostly from a male perspective. We get a bit of like what her father is like, and you kind of see also why she and her sister are the way that they are. Regardless, yeah, I hate every single line of this book. I'm not even joking when I say that. And it's not even me being like smart or like, it's very much intentional. You can tell the writing of this book, the tone of the men, their feelings in this book. I like, it's one of those books where the story itself, and because they're talking about her, because her character is so intriguing, you can't stop reading it. But the men themselves, their tonality, their personalities, horrid. Like, even just from that sentence, like, it may sound romantic in different types of context, and it may even sound autistic, like he thinks, the brother-in-law. Obviously, the brother-in-law thinks it's very autistic. It's not. It's perverse. And what I wanted to say earlier is that as much as he doesn't view her as a human being, the way that the story goes and the way that her lore unfolds, at the end of the book, it's so upsetting for me to even admit that I don't even think of her as a human being. The things that she goes through, the things that's why I'm saying, like, it reminds me of No Longer Human, not in the way that a man, I want to even say disintegrates himself, because in No Longer Human, it's clearly a story fully of self-sabotage, narcissism, lack of empathy. A plus B equals C. But because in No Longer Human, it's so poetic, the main character, I mean, it's so poetic, we only get his perspective throughout the whole thing. And at some point, it's even relatable. It's kind of hard to kind of just conclude, like, at the end of the day, this is a person that doesn't want to help themselves. This is a person that hates themselves so much that they self-sabotage themselves so much, degraded themselves, disintegrated, and became less than human through his continuous actions. But with this story, because it's not from her perspective, and it's from the perspective of misogynistic men, narcissistic men, majority of it. And then it at the end is when we get a woman's perspective, an empathetic perspective, from someone that has known her all her life, but also at the end of the day from someone that has the privilege of not being able to understand her. Her sister is not ever in that same mental space as she is not struggling with the same mental things as she has. She struggles with, like, obviously her husband, who is a bum and a deadbeat, and then eventually she finds out he is very much unloyal with his own sister-in-law, and she is very successful in her own right. She has her own business and all these things, and she's kind of this middle ground in the family between someone who has self-actualized to a point that they can take care literally of themselves and her kids that she eventually has, but is so empathetic and is so stuck to her trauma that she cannot separate from the rest of her family. But also because of just the culture of it, it's also very similar to a lot of Black cultures where you just, no matter how much you succeed, you can't separate from them. You can't find yourself leaving that situation. But she still cannot relate to what we assume, obviously, because it's not, we don't get a first person perspective. What we assume is the mental illness of her sister. Again, I bring this up because so many times this character, who's actually the main character, seems so alien to the reader. She really, really seems alien. Not just in the fact that we don't get to read her first person, but in the way that she behaves, in the things that she does. And when I do a review, I don't want to give out too many, not even details, spoilers. But with this novel, I have to talk about it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why is it called The Vegetarian? That was the main thing that caught my eye. I've never seen a title like that, if I'm being honest. Obviously, except like Dostoevsky, like The Idiot or Camus. I think maybe that's why it caught my eye, maybe actually. But like The Stranger and everything. When it's something simple like with that article already in my head, I'm thinking this is objectifying something and someone. That's just me though. That's just me. This is objectifying something and someone. It's when I hear the article for me, it's circling the situation. It's not circling the person. But the person is the most important. Does that even make sense? Anyway, let me not talk about that. The story, in the most layman's basic terms, summary, it is about this young woman. I'm not even going to say her name. Not because I don't want to. It's about this young woman. She has a husband. The first perspective that we get, like I said, is from her husband's perspective. This woman all of a sudden decides that she's going to be a vegetarian, okay? And her husband is not too happy, but not too bothered by this in the beginning. So she all of a sudden decides she's going to be a vegetarian, but she actually doesn't make it, So she wants to be a vegetarian, so obviously, it impacts the home, it impacts the fridge. Think about what's in your fridge. Now there's only vegetables, there's tofu, there's fruit, there's whatever. But over time, each and every night, the husband, as narcissistic and self-centered as he is noticing that his wife is going through things. And I actually told you a really big lie. We don't get a whole chapter of first person perspectives from the main character, but we do get blurbs within the other characters' perspectives. So, for example, in the beginning, when her husband is speaking, and he's complaining, my wife's a vegetarian now, it's weird, there's no meat in the fridge, A, B, C, D, E. And and in the book, it's giving context that in Korean culture, meat, it's a big thing. It's not a thing that you just decide, like, I'm a vegetarian or I'm a vegan. The only reason why I'm trying to relate this to myself is not because I'm trying to make this about myself, but because it's the same thing in a lot of Black cultures. You don't just decide you're vegetarian, you're vegan, because meat is a big part of not just dinner culture or whatever. It's a big part of tradition and rituals and all those things. So the husband and her family are not happy about this at all. We get little blurbs, like I was saying, in each perspective. So within her husband's perspectives, most of the blurbs are her dreams. She interrupts and it's all written like italics. She interrupts the perspective by just describing the dreams, nothing else. She doesn't describe who she is as a person. She doesn't describe the things that she likes. Nothing. She describes her dreams and she describes some of the actions. It's very minuscule amount of the actions that she does as a result of these dreams. Cool. The dreams will be this is basically a example. This is not verbatim from the book. She goes out into the woods and she's naked and in some kind of I don't even want to call it a daze, something like that. And it's never said directly, but it's suggested that she consumes meat of the raw variety in the beginning. And the reason why I say in the beginning is very suggestive is because at the end, it's not as suggestive at all. And it's never human meat. It's never human meat at the end when she makes it very clear. In the beginning, it's very suggestive, and it's like very cryptic, very metaphoric, very, and that's why I'm saying she feels very alien. She feels like a very alien person to the reader, because the way that she even speaks is riddlish, and you have to almost guess like this meat that she's eating in the middle of the night naked in the woods. What meat is that? You know? That's what makes this book so, you really do have to just like put the puzzle pieces together, because she never tells you A plus B equals C all the time. So she has dreams like that, and it's not a lot of interruptions, but she does interrupt the perspective of the main speaker from time to time. But anyway, continuing from that, she becomes a vegetarian. Her husband is a Sith. Her husband tells her family, so calls her parents, her father, her mother, and her sister, his sister-in-law. And they're obviously, not obviously, but for a traditional-ish family, they're very upset, because also in this culture, she cooks for him every night. So she is now obviously cooking vegetarian / vegan meals every night, and he is not having it. And at first, he's just like angry, he's just like sour, you know. And then it like escalates to she doesn't want to have sex with him as much. And oh my god, this scene I read in public and I was so uncomfortable. He sexually assaults her because she doesn't want to sleep with him. And it's like, yeah, it just, because it's from his perspective, it's almost shocking how casual he is about it. He admits to it. He says, I know that she didn't want to do it. Basically, he's like, yeah, I knew she didn't want to do it. He admits that he did what he did. And he admits that he doesn't really feel bad about it. That was not fun to read at all. That was horrific, honestly. And you know what's so crazy is that this is not a horror novel where each word is so meticulously and artistically picked that it invokes such passion and emotion. It's such casual writing, bro. He could have like texted this to you, but that casualty is what makes it so terrifying. I'm not even joking. Like, he was true. Like, I was reading this in public in a cafe, I remember, and it was like 1 minute they're eating dinner, the next I was taken aback. I really was taken aback. And it's not even like, again, it's the casualty of it. He doesn't go into detail about the assault, but it's just, you almost feel so hopeless because he really did not feel bad about it. And he did it without hesitation. It wasn't like a thing of like, oh my God, this is my wife and I'm so desperate. Not that that would excuse anything, but I'm so desperate, and she's pushing me to the edge again. Not that that would excuse anything, but it's not like a passion-filled like he just does it. Like he doesn't care. So he does that, and I think he does it another time, but that's also things that make her feel so inhuman and so alien. He literally degrades her to that point. She has, it's funny because she has just decided this one life path. She's decided, I'm a vegetarian. That's it. That's literally all she's decided. Yes, we have her cryptic dreams of her going to the woods at night doing who knows what, or escaping the house at night and doing who knows what. Like, he even says later, from in his perspective, that he notices that his wife is not sleeping. Like, he might be too out of it at night to notice that she's out of the house, but he notices that like she has bags under her eyes. She's constantly tired, like she's not okay. She's not in her right state of mind. But because he's a horrible husband, he doesn't care, right? Like, it's those things, like she made one life decision, and maybe it's based on dreams, maybe it's based on like spiritual decisions, but then multiple things happen because of the people in her life because of this one decision. And it's like, hello? Anyway, so he does that, continues being dissatisfied in his marriage. And every other night she's getting calls from her parents because of him yelling at her. And then they go to like a dinner with his boss. And just the culture of it all, you should be very grateful and very accepting of what they serve you in general. His boss is very wealthy, and they're in this house, and she doesn't want to eat any of the meat. And it's a whole awkward thing of like him trying to make excuses for his wife, like basically calling his wife delirious, stupid, crazy in front of his boss. And then the cherry on top of that all, when she decided that she was vegetarian, she also stopped wearing bras. And that was one thing that really irritated him, is that she was not wearing bras and you could see her nipples seeping through basically any of the shirt that she was wearing. And at this boss's dinner that they were at, you could see that. And this is basically the catalyst for their divorce. Before the second catalyst, where they have a family dinner with her dad, her mom, her sister, and her brother-in-law, where they all basically yell at her for choosing to become a vegetarian. And they yell at her for becoming a vegetarian. They're like, why are you doing this? Why are you making people in your life suffer for no reason? Why are you making your husband uncomfortable for no reason? Da-da-da-da. Obviously, they don't know the reasons. We as a viewer also, we don't know the reasons, but for some reason we're more empathetic, right? You for no reason. And then it basically comes to the point where her father gets so frustrated that he slaps her across the face. But like, not like, he slaps this woman to kingdom come, bro. Like, if I remember correctly, I think he actually did it more than once, but I don't just want to like spread things. But anyway, he slaps her. He slaps her really hard, really, really hard. And throughout this whole dinner, and actually ever since she become vegetarian, she's basically nonverbal, bro. When she speaks, she's saying weird shit, but she's basically nonverbal. She doesn't say anything when her dad slaps her, and her sister reveals that this isn't like a new thing. Like, it's like her dad just got so passionate in this moment that he's done something he's never done before. Like, this isn't a new thing. It's not like he's never slapped them before, but it was worrisome enough. So as all of them yell at her, she says nothing, and then her dad slaps her. She still says nothing, but eventually she passes out. She collapses. After this dinner, her parents still not sympathetic. Her husband after this divorces her, and yeah, her brother-in-law during this whole thing basically does nothing. After this, she gets admitted to the hospital, not for the slap, for mental illness. Bro, imagine qualifying vegetarianism as mental illness. It's like back in the day when they would diagnose women with lesbianism, like, oh, you gay? That's a disease. That's a disease. You're sick. You're so sick. How can you be sick? You need to go to the mental hospital. We need to give you drugs and electrocute you and put you in boiling water. They send you to the mental hospital. After some events, obviously, but they send her to the mental hospital, and she goes insane. All right, and I would argue that, I'm sorry, I've been so, this video is 30 minutes long, and I feel like I've been talking pure cuck. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's how crazy this book made me. The Vegetarian made me a cannibal, bro. It I'm not even joking. I think I ate meat after I read this for like, I don't know if that's reverse psychology or what, but I was eating good after I read this book. Um, but obviously meat is not meat in this story. It's one of those stories where like, oh, are we still talking about the horse or whatever? I don't know. It's definitely one of those stories where meat symbolizes a much bigger problem in a society, in a person, um, in a culture, and it's just one of the books where it really gets out of hand. By the end of the book, she has she's in the mental hospital. She has frolicked in the garden of the mental hospital fully naked, breasts out, and I describe it like that because again it's the whole theme of like she doesn't wear a bra, and in the scene they specifically describe it as like her breasts are out even though she's fully naked, and she catches a bird in her hand and consumes it. She consumes the bird. And when you read that at the end of the book, it's like such a feeling of not even sadness, but hopelessness. I think that's the main thing that makes this book a thriller slash horror is the hopelessness aspect. At every moment that I actually was reading this book, I didn't realize how much I didn't even think that there would be a turn of events where the main character would get her happy ending. There wasn't a single moment where I was like, okay, next chapter, some miracle is gonna happen and she's gonna get her happy ending. There wasn't a single moment where I even thought that. And then the last moment of the book is from her sister's perspective. This person that has known her whole life, deeper than her parents, deeper than her husband. This person that has forgiven her even after she slept with her brother-in-law looks at her naked in the mental hospital garden eating a bird. And it just kind of like, it was one of those definitely like, obviously you finish reading, you're like, what does this even mean? What the hell did I just read? I'm not even joking with you, I had to reread the end. I was like, what? Did I read this right? Am I imagining this? Because it's just such a sad way to end. Like, genuinely, it's just like, in the end, bye. She ate a bird. Bye. The vegetarian ate a bird. Bye. What? So, can I be honest with you? This is one of the main reasons why I didn't even make this video, because what do you even say to that? And I love books that leave me speechless. I do. I really do. Because it just insinuates that there's way too much to unpack there. There's way too much to unpack. Not enough of it has been unpacked publicly by society. Especially the themes. And I'm going to say this not because it's not directly implied. But when you read this, they are very minuscule, suggestive themes of cannibalism. Very suggestive. Very minuscule. And I say that because cannibalism, like when we're talking about Hannibal, it's all good. You know, people don't like that topic. Why? Personally, me, because I'm interested in it, not in a weird way, obviously. It always like intrigues me. Like people really don't like it. Like, and as human beings, at the end of the day, we're still animals. And it intrigued me how much we avoid that conversation. That's why it's like so like, you know. this book has very, very suggestive themes of cannibalism, and that is an even bigger thing. It's like, oh wow, we haven't unpacked that enough to even unpack what they're talking about in this book. So anyway, very clear why it won the Nobel Prize of Literature. The smart people, they thought it was worth a good read. It is. It's a good book. I love it so much. I really do. The books that taught you the most are the ones that are most worth reading. They really are. Thinking is a good thing. Overthinking. What did Dostoevsky say? I'm not smart enough to remember that. Anyway, yeah, this was a very, very unprofessional, not well done breakdown and opinion of the book The Vegetarian by Hong Kong. But it was a breakdown nonetheless. So, we good, bro. We good. We good. Read the book. And that's the moral of the story. Moral of every story you read here. Read the book. Just read the book. Just read it.